Why, I couldn't leave that Foxy girl Hitchhiker on the roadside. The headlights cut through the November fog like knives through smoke. I'd been driving for 3 hours straight, eager to reach my sister's place before midnight, when I saw her figure standing beneath the flickering street lamp at the edge of Route 47. At first, thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The woman had blonde, wavy hair that cascaded past her shoulders, catching the amber light like spun gold. But it was what else I noticed that made me tap the brakes. 2 triangular ears, russet Thuringian cream protruding from the top of her head. They twitched as my car approached. I should have kept driving. That's what anyone sensible would do. But something in her posture, the way she hugged herself against the cold, her tail wrapped protectively around her legs, stopped me. I pulled over, gravel crunching beneath my tires. She approached the passenger window cautiously, her amber eyes reflecting my interior light. Up close, I could see the orange fur covering her ears and the thick, bushy tail that swayed behind her. She wore a weathered denim jacket and jeans, looking utterly human except for those unmistakable features. "Car broke down 2 miles back," she said, her voice surprisingly warm despite the chill. "Phone's dead. I've been walking for an hour." "Where are you headed?" "Millbrook. If you're going anywhere near there, I'd be grateful for the ride." Millbrook was 40 miles past my sister's place, but those eyes held something I couldn't ignore, vulnerability mixed with fierce independence. "Get in," I said. She slid into the passenger seat with graceful efficiency, her tail curling across her lap. The car filled with the subtle scent pine and autumn leaves, wild and clean. "I'm James," I offered. "Ember," she replied, fastening her seatbelt. One of her ears flicked toward me, and I realized she was listening with an intensity no human could match. We drove in silence for a few miles. I kept stealing glances, trying not to stare. Her fingers, perfectly human-drummed nervously against her thigh. The tips of her ears peeked through her hair, occasionally twitching at distant sounds I couldn't hear. "You're wondering what I am," she finally said. It wasn't a question. I'm trying not to be rude. A small smile played at her lips. "I'm a hybrid, fox and lynx bloodlines. Born this way, not made." Before you ask, yes, it's real. No, I'm not the only one. And no, I don't usually hitch rides with strangers. So why tonight? She turned to look out the window, her reflection ghostly against the dark glass. "Because sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you're running from something, and the only option is to keep moving." The weight in her words suggested a story much longer than a simple breakdown. We stopped at an all-night diner around midnight. Ember had been quiet for the last 20 miles. I could hear her stomach growling softly, a sound more pronounced than human hunger. "My treat," I said, pulling into the parking lot. "You look like you could use a meal." She hesitated, pride flickering across her features, then nodded. "Thank you," sighed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A tired waitress barely glanced at Ember's ears before taking our order. I suppose working night shifts in roadside diners. "You saw all kinds." Ember ordered a steak, rare, and proceeded to eat with an appetite that was both fascinating and somewhat primal. I sipped my coffee and watched her gradually relax, her shoulders dropping, her tail uncurling beneath the table. "So, what are you running from?" I asked gently. She set down her fork, wiping her mouth with a napkin. "You're direct." "You said you were running." "I'm just asking." For a moment, I thought she wouldn't answer. Then she leaned back, her ears flattening slightly, a sign of discomfort. I was learning. "There's a facility," she began quietly, "about 200 miles east of here. They call it the Crossroads Institute. Officially, it's a research center studying hybrid genetics and integration. Unofficially," she paused, her fingers tightening around her coffee cup, "they want to understand how we're made, how we work. They take hybrids in, promising support and community. Then they disappear into labs. And you were there? For 6 months. I was desperate, no job, no place to stay. They offered housing, medical care, a stipend. It seemed perfect. Her laugh was bitter. By month 3, I realized I couldn't leave. By month 5, I was planning my escape. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the November air. How did you get out? Befriended a security guard. Thomas. He was kind. Didn't agree with what was happening. He left my door unlocked last night. Erased some footage. I ran. She met my eyes. They'll be looking for me. The weight of what she was telling me settled over the table. I should have been scared. I should have wondered if helping her would bring trouble to my door. Instead, I felt angry that people could be so cruel. Millbrook, I said. You have someone there? A cousin. She's human, but her mother was a hybrid. She understands. She'll help me start over. I nodded slowly. Then we'll get you there. Her ears perked forward, surprise evident. You don't have to. I know, but I'm going to. Something shifted between us in that moment. We got back on the road, the diner's lights fading behind us. Ember seemed lighter somehow, as if sharing her burden had lifted some invisible weight. She curled up in the passenger seat, her tail draped across her lap like a living blanket. Tell me about yourself, she said, turning those luminous eyes toward me. Fair's fair. I talked as I drove about my job as a freelance writer. My sister's upcoming wedding, my habit of taking long drives to clear my head, normal things that felt almost absurd next to her story. Sounds peaceful, she murmured. Sometimes too peaceful. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just existing, you know, not really living. She was quiet for a moment, then said, I'd take peaceful. I've had enough excitement to last a lifetime. What was it like? Before the Institute, her expression softened, becoming almost dreamy. I grew up in a small town in Oregon. My mother raised me alone. She was a hybrid too, though her features were less pronounced. She taught me to hide, to blend in. I wore hats to cover my ears, kept my tail tucked away. She touched one of her ears gently. But after she died 3 years ago, I stopped hiding. Figured if the world couldn't accept me, that was their problem. Brave, I said. Or stupid, she replied. But she smiled. We talked through the miles, the conversation flowing easier than it had any right to. She asked about my writing. I asked about her heightened senses. She described how the world sounded different to her layers of noise I'd never hear, scents that told stories. The way she could sense changes in air pressure before storms. Around 3 in the morning, exhaustion caught up with me. I pulled into a rest stop, the parking lot nearly empty. I need to close my eyes for an hour, I admitted. Otherwise, I'm going to drive us off the road. Sleep, Ember said. I'll keep watch. Okay. I reclined my seat, intending to just rest my eyes, but sleep took me immediately. When I woke, dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold. Ember sat cross-legged in her seat, watching the sunrise with an expression of such profound peace that I didn't want to disturb her. Beautiful, isn't it? She said without looking at me, somehow knowing I was awake. Yeah, I agreed, though I was looking at her. She turned, catching my gaze, and something electric passed between us. Her ears flicked forward, and I saw her pupils dilate slightly. Whatever she sensed in me, it made her breath catch. James, she said softly. Yeah, thank you for not leaving me on that road. I reached across the center console and took her hand. Her fingers were warm, slightly rough at the pads, more sensitive than human hands. She didn't pull away. I'm glad I stopped, I said, meaning it more than I'd meant anything in a long time. We were 30 miles from Millbrook when Ember's ears suddenly swiveled backward, her entire body going tense. Someone's following us, she said, her voice tight. I checked the rearview mirror. A black SUV, 3 cars back, had been there for the last 10 minutes. You sure? I can hear their engine. They've been matching our speed exactly. Her tail bristled, fluffing up, James, we need to get off this highway. I took the next exit, heart hammering. The SUV followed. It's them, isn't it? I said, already knowing the answer. The Institute has resources. Thomas said they'd track me if I ran. She was breathing quickly, panic creeping into her voice. I shouldn't have involved you. Let me out. Not happening. Spotted a sign for a state forest preserve. Hold on. I took a sharp turn onto a narrow road that wound into dense woods. The SUV followed, but had to slow down on the winding path. Ember gripped the door handle. Her claw's eye hadn't noticed them before extended slightly. There's a ranger station, she said, her enhanced vision picking out details I couldn't see. 2 miles ahead. People there might help, but when we reached it, the station was closed for the season. I pulled around back, parking behind a maintenance shed that hid us from the main road. We wait them out, I said. They can't search forever. We sat in tense silence, listening. Ember's ears tracked sounds I couldn't detect. The SUV passing on the main road, circling back, eventually idling somewhere nearby. They're waiting too, she whispered. In the close confines of the car, I could feel her fear but also her determination. She met my eyes, and I saw that fierce independence again, mixed with something else. Gratitude, trust. I won't let them take you, I said. She reached up, touching my face with those sensitive fingers. You barely know me. I know enough. Then she kissed me, sudden and intense, her lips soft and urgent against mine. Her hand slid to the back of my neck, and I pulled her closer across the center console, awkward but not caring. She tasted like coffee and something wild, something untamed. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against mine. If we get through this, she started. When? I corrected. When we get through this. Our tail wrapped around my wrist, soft and warm. When we get through this, I want to know what this could be. Me too. We waited another hour, holding each other, before Ember's ears suddenly perked up. They're leaving. Engine sounds are fading. We waited 30 more minutes to be sure, then carefully made our way back to the highway. The black SUV was gone. Millbrook appeared in the late afternoon, a small town nestled in rolling hills. Ember directed me to a craftsman-style house on a quiet street, its yard full of autumn flowers. A woman emerged as we pulled up, mid-30s, dark hair, warm smile. Ember. She rushed to embrace her cousin, not caring about the neighbors who might see. Natalie, Ember breathed, relief flooding her voice. Thank you. Natalie looked at me over Ember's shoulder, curiosity and gratitude in her expression. And you must be the knight in shining armor. Someone who couldn't drive past, I said. We went inside, where Natalie made tea and Ember explained everything. Her cousin listened with growing anger, then determination. You'll stay here as long as you need, Natalie said firmly. I know a lawyer. She specializes in hybrid rights. We'll make sure the Institute can't touch you. Ember's tail curled contentedly for the first time since I'd met her. Thank you. As evening fell, I knew I should leave, continue to my sister's place, but I found myself reluctant, lingering over my cooling tea. Ember walked me to my car, her hand in mine. You could stay, she said softly, just tonight. It's late, and you've been driving for almost 24 hours. I should have said no. Should have recognized that we'd been thrown together by crisis and adrenaline, that whatever we felt might not survive normal life. Instead, I said, I'd like that. Natalie set up the guest room, tactfully leaving us alone. Ember and I sat on the back porch, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. What happens now? I asked. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder, her ears soft against my cheek. I figure out how to really live, not to survive. Maybe go back to school. Maybe work with other hybrids who need help. She paused. See where this goes. This, I echoed, smiling. You and me, whatever we are, kissed her temple, careful of her sensitive ears. I'd like to find out. You live 3 hours away, she pointed out. I'm a writer. I work from anywhere. Her tail wrapped around my waist, and I felt her smile against my neck. Stay then. For a while. See if this is real. I stayed that night, and the next, and the one after that. Gradually, a while became indefinite. I helped Ember and Natalie navigate the legal complexities, wrote articles about hybrid rights that slowly gained attention, and discovered what it meant to not just exist, but truly live. The Foxy girl hitchhiker I couldn't leave behind became the person I couldn't imagine leaving at all. 6 months later, as we unpacked boxes in our new apartment, halfway between Millbrook and my sister's place, Mabra came up behind me, wrapping her arms and tail around me in an embrace that felt like coming home. No regrets? She asked, though her tone was playful. I turned in her arms, looking into those amber eyes that had first caught me in the lamplight. Not a single one. She kissed me, soft and certain, and I knew that stopping on that foggy road had been the best decision I'd ever made. Sometimes the most important journeys begin with a single choice: to stop, to help, to stay, to open your heart to the unexpected, the unusual, the extraordinary. And sometimes the person you save ends up saving you right back. The end.